Hey guys, I wasn't planning on doing this video, but I woke up this morning to my Twitter feed being filled with angry words, people lashing at each other, more specifically at politicians. I get it. I'm as frustrated and as angry as you are. I was so angry yesterday and today, but we all knew this was coming. We all knew that there were going to be more mandates. And guys, bad news, there are going to be more, just because the way in which you see the pattern of everything unfolding, that's going to happen. But we need to get a hold of ourselves so that we can use this powerful anger and frustration to do good. Whatever your fight is, you need to use this energy that you have right now and be strategic about it. Do something more constructive towards it. And here's how you can do it, because we've already talked about reptilian versus empathetic brain, as well as the analytical brain. So there are tricks in which you can shift the frequencies of your brain such that you can go from this reptilian into empathetic, into rational and analytical, because that's the only time you can actually make some positive changes. So I'm not saying don't fight. In fact, I am saying go and fight. But don't be violent, and also don't belittle people, because it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't achieve anything. The moment we're frustrated, we better take it out, lash at the wall or at the pillow, or break a plate or something. But to tell other civilians to shut the F up just because they're expressing their opinions, or you're idiot, or words as such, really doesn't help. But you can have a good fight. And here is how you can have the best fight, because the anger and the frustration that you're feeling right at this moment can be used extremely powerfully, because it has triggered and it has made that your brain frequencies have gone higher, more towards mid beta and sometimes even gamma waves. Those are higher brain frequencies, which means that they have much more potential for energy. So the potential is there, but it can be used for something totally destructive. And with destructive, I mean, you do something that basically doesn't, it makes you feel good right at that moment, but at the end it's like, okay, it didn't really achieve anything. But if you really want to achieve something, you need to know these frequencies and change them. For example, look at what the protesters did. Now, let's set aside the politics of it. Let's set aside the fact that they appear to be very organized. Let's set all that aside. Let's just look at the way in which they actually acted. And I'm only talking about those protesters who were peaceful. They actually gathered themselves. They had a peaceful protest. They went out and they had, shouted out their message and whatnot. Again, I'm not talking about looting and rioting. Please don't take what I say out of context, because everybody seems to be doing that. I'm just talking about these actions that we can take. Or those people who educate themselves and want to do something towards, for example, a legal action, towards making a change that way, such that in the future it brings out a positive aspect of it. Those actions have the potential of bringing at least some type of a result. Whereas the other action, if I go on my Twitter account and just start saying, shut the fuck up and you bastard, you're idiot, it might make me feel good at that moment, but then what? I'm just belittling other people who are also frustrated like me. Because those who want to wear masks, they're frustrated. Those who don't want to wear masks, they are frustrated. So everybody's frustrated. So nobody's really helping anybody. But there are lawyers out there, for example, that we can reach out to. There are like-minded people that believe in the fight that you want to take. You can find them and ask them. And if they say no, that's fine. You can go to the next one, because not everybody is up for it. But there are many different ways in which we can fight. And here are a couple of ways in which you can do it. If you remember, we talked about the reptilian brain. So a lot of times when we do this action reaction type of thing, we lash out at each other, we are at that level. Nothing wrong with it, but you can use it as a stepping stone to go to the next ladder, which is the empathetic brain and then the logical brain. And so you can use the energy of this anger and this frustration that you feel. It is a very high frequency in your brain that is happening right now. So you're generating a lot of electricity, and you can use it. You can use it to shift it such that you become this badass, powerful person who's taking logical action. Maybe you go out and seek lawful experts. You go and talk to your officials. You do something of that nature. And here's how you can do it. So if you remember, we talked about the reptilian brain being at a moment where you are more or less controlled by your amygdala, which is the fear center of your brain. And that releases a lot of neurotransmitters that are also adding to the frequencies that you're feeling right now. So one way to tackle that and to control it a little bit is physical action. One of the first thing you can do. And if you're, for example, into any type of sports, this is a very good time when you're really frustrated, like get on your bike, or if you do boxing, I did that in the past because there was a time where I was going through a lot of stuff, and then I just bought myself these boxing gloves and I started just, hitting a wall or whatever it was in front of me, not people, but just objects. And or for example, if you're into music, like listen to really loud music and start, shaking your body to the loud music, something physical that you like, that also helps you channel these frequencies and these electricities that you are producing right at this moment, such that you can control them a little bit. Because once you're in control of this mass frequency that you are creating at this moment, you become a badass. You become this badass logical person who can really have this amazing fight, but at a constructive level. And that is when you can achieve a lot. And I'm not saying this only at a theoretical level. Believe me, guys, I've done it myself and I'm still doing it. And so this is very, very practical way of doing it. To give you an example, in 2009, if you remember, we went through this really also extremely frustrating time. At that point, I was an intern and I was very green. I had just started working as an intern in tech. I was still doing my college degree. I was new in town, new into the country. So there was a lot of things that supposedly were against me. And so I had that moment, that recession really hit me because I was not prepared. I didn't even know how a recession would look like, to be honest. And so for 2 years, I went through some of the roughest time, and I'm sure you did as well. But what those 2 years taught me was that I promised myself that I will never, ever go through that shit again. And I never did. At some point, I didn't have anything to eat. At some point, I didn't have anywhere to live. At some point, I got violated. At some point, my father passed. So it was like, and my father, we were so much like 4,000 miles away, and I couldn't even go to the funeral just because I had to take care of at that time, some paperwork in terms of visa and whatnot. And so what I'm trying to say is that it really literally poured shit over me. And it really, really made me learn how to deal and how to control my frustration and my anger, so that I taught myself everything that I could. And I also asked people for help. And if 9 people told me no, the 10th person would say yes. And I don't mean asking for money. I never did that. But asking, for example, advice, asking for how to approach certain things. So I learned a lot from these people. I sought them, and I would ask them, I'm like, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? I really want to know how you did this or how you did that. So there was a lot of that going on. And of course it took 2 years, and since then, thanks God, knock on wood, I never put myself in that situation again, because I learned that whatever behavior I chose and whatever action I took, at the end of the day, I was the one who was gonna either benefit from it or not benefit from it. And so I know a lot of you guys know this already, but the fact that things are changing, it has forced a lot of us to go into the reptilian brain. So a lot of us are very emotional. So please don't think that I'm here saying something that, I want to preach or whatnot. I'm not doing that. I'm actually saying this from the bottom of my heart. I know that all of you know exactly what I'm talking about, and all of you know that whatever is happening to you is wrong, and all of you know that everybody's frustrated, including me, including you. But it's sometimes good to hear it from sort of a outside source, such that we go back into the same mode. Also, please remember that a lot of these things that are happening are outside of our control. For example, when officials make these decisions. But at the same time, for example, those of us who are really frustrated, I think this is a perfect time to make a choice about our lives in terms of, who do I want to be in the future? Maybe I want to go into politics so that I can make a difference in the future for my community. Or maybe we say, hey, I want to be a lawyer and I want to, help people or help myself in the future. And so there are a lot of things that we could learn from this. And more importantly, gather all this energy, all this electricity, magnificent electricity that you are creating right now. Use it to build your life and your community's life for the better. That we can do. And of course, lashing out and whatnot, it is part of it. Honestly, sometimes I just want to scream, and I just go into my room and I'm just start screaming, because it is also part of that physical level. But what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, if we keep, belittling others, it really, in the future, in 5 years from now, that thing just hurt somebody else and did nothing else. All right, guys, so to recap, use your anger and frustration, channel it by becoming physical. Go and jog or do biking or boxing, whatever your sport is, whatever your physical activity is, and do it on a daily basis, because that will help you gather your energies, and it will also help you to go directly from reptilian brain into analytical brain. It will really, really shift all your frequencies, all your energies, all your electricities. And then after taking that physical action, taking a shower helps a lot, because water helps also to calm down the frequencies and the EMFs that is on our skin, that it also accumulates. We accumulate a lot of EMFs around us. So taking a shower is also very good. And then take some action. If you, for example, if your fight is to file a lawsuit, go and find lawyers. If you don't find lawyers, keep asking one lawyer to give you a referral to another one. If your fight is to go and have a peaceful demonstration, see what your options are. If your fight is to become a politician in the future, go and see how you can educate yourself and whatnot. My fight, for example, is this. This is what I do, because I know my strength and I know my weaknesses, and I know the things I suck at, and I know that the things I'm a little bit better at. And so for me, dropping knowledge, sharing the things that I know from a level that will empower other people, empower them to build better lives for themselves and for their communities. This is what I do. And so I have been asked to join other fights, but I have very kindly and politely said no just because I know my weaknesses and I know that I wouldn't do a good job there. My power and my strength comes in more handy when I gear it towards the things that I can contribute the most towards and be better at. And so that's the reason, for example, I don't attend protests, because I know that I would really not achieve as much. But that's why I do this. I write, I do research, I do these videos, and I also use my words in terms of sharing knowledge and dropping knowledge. And hopefully that is also part of the fight. So the fight doesn't need to mean one thing. Everybody can use it the way they can mainly add value to. So I hope this was helpful to you. God bless you. Love you all.